Welcome to the Idea Talks, where we discuss big ideas. The Idea Talks is a weekly podcast with Josh Tice and other leaders on big ideas for life, leadership, and ministry. And I'm your co-host, Drew Polvencia. For more information on this podcast, visit ideanetwork.church.
Today's big idea is the future of seminaries. Where is this thing going in the 21st century? And is it even necessary? Today we talk with Troy Temple, the Dean of Liberty University's Seminary and Bible Department. I'm wondering what his answer to this question is going to be today on the Idea Talks. Hey, Drew, it's time to advertise.
This is my favorite part of each podcast.
Yeah, but we're not going to advertise the book any longer. Nobody cares.
I mean, I think you've sold a few copies at this point.
It's done. It's done. Put a fork in it, because right now we've got a new thing to push on you, the great listener.
Please tell us.
No, I can't, because some of these people are fast forwarding right now.
That's true.
No, stop
Skip
fast
ahead.
forwarding.
Stop the scroll.
Okay, now you're ready. Here's what we're going to advertise to you. That is the official membership of the Idea Network.
So originally it was called the Charter membership.
Charter membership was
limited to like 100 people, right?
Yeah, and everybody, and only those who joined up in 2021. You say, man, I want to be a charter member. Well, too bad.
You can no longer be a charter member. However, you can be a part of the membership program.
That's right, an official member of the Idea Network. You say, but I listen to the podcast. You're not a member. Yeah, but I'm in that Facebook group. Not a member. Yeah, but I come to Idea Day. Not a member.
I bought swag off the store.
Not a member.
Yep.
But that swag, by the way, is awesome stuff.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Official members are those who are joining the 2021 charter members in our membership program. What does that look like? Well, it looks like a monthly fee that goes toward the functioning of the Idea Network and allows the Idea Network to do the things that it does. With that membership, this is what you're purchasing. You're purchasing a weekly virtual roundtable with myself and other ministry leaders for the purpose of creating an environment to share collaborative ideas between Idea Nights, Idea Days, and Idea Summits. These virtual roundtables have been a refreshing time for so many of us. But not only that, you receive a swag box with all of the greatest merchandise Idea Network has to offer, and the ability to get involved in member-exclusive events. What are these member-exclusive events? Well, like coming up here in January.
Yeah, so think of like if you go to like a big event and there's like this special meetup that nobody knows about, except for like a elite group of people.
These are the elites.
That's it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For example, this January, we're going to be going to San Antonio and doing a members-exclusive Idea Day. And it's a lot of fun. Where we're going to stay, very nice place right there on the river. What are we going to do and what are we going to eat? Really nice event. In fact, we're pretty excited, Jeremy, Kylie, and I, because it's one of the nicest events we've ever put on. But this is only for our members. Look, we want you to be supportive of the network, and you want to be supportive of the network, but there's a lot that comes along with it. We want you to be involved with the official membership of the Idea Network. All you have to do is go right to the website and look up membership and join us soon.
Ideanetwork.church. Sign up there. Welcome to this edition of the Idea Talks. Thanks so much for stopping by. On today's episode, we have a very special guest with us, Troy Temple of Liberty University. He's going to be talking to us about the future of seminaries in just a little bit.
Did you say this future of cemeteries?
Cemeteries.
No, I don't. I think you messed that up.
I think I did.
It's seminaries.
Man, I'm always working on my pronunciation.
Pronunciation. You said pronunciation.
I know.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, that's an old joke, right? Cemeteries and seminaries. I mean, this is a ridiculous thing. Some of my greatest memories are taking place at seminaries, but also some of my scariest memories. So I guess that fits the cemetery analogy.
Yeah.
How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, you loving life?
Loving life.
Okay, so end of November.
It's snowing on the ground at this point, right?
Yeah, snowing on the ground. Not here in Las Vegas, that's for sure.
Somewhere in the world.
Probably where you're at. I know, I can picture you, right?
Yeah.
You're one of my pals, and you're sitting there in Ohio, and you're looking out your beautiful window of your office into this incredible
dreaming
white
of a white
Christmas. Well, we're not. We're here in Nevada. It's still brown.
Yeah, it's still brown.
It's brown year-round.
We literally have a cactus garden that they decorate with Christmas lights. That's a thing here.
Yeah, you think we're joking. You don't. Well, it's not. Where do you go?
It's Ethel M's, yeah.
Ethel M. So go to Ethel M Chocolate Factory if you're ever in Vegas during Christmas season, and they decorate an entire cactus garden where you can see festive cacti.
Yeah, and your children can maybe or maybe not fall into the cactus. Never happened to me, of course.
Well, just assume it will.
Yeah.
My son one time I don't want to get into that. You know why I don't want to get into that? Because somebody that is part of my son's university is going to be talking to us in a moment. I don't want to throw him under the bus or into the cacti.
That's good.
Hey, we do have some very exciting things that are coming up here for the Idea Network. Man, I cannot believe it. We were only 3 or 4 months away from Idea Day Chicago and Idea Day Tampa. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and go to ideanetwork.church and get registered. For my goodness, some of you are down south and you're ready to go. Some of you are up north and you're ready to go. Now, these are regional events, and I know what you're thinking. Man, I'm already in the Midwest, and it's cold outside. I do not want to go to the Chicago event. Well, fantastic. Book yourself a ticket and get down to Tampa. Make sure you come for the full Idea Day, and then spend a couple days with Mickey Mouse, who's only an hour and a half away. Maybe you're in Florida and you're like, I want to see Chicago. Awesome. Come all the way up to Chicago. But we do have these regional Idea Days because we want you to be able to drive right to an event and enjoy it. Or if you need to get out of town, fly to a place and spend some time. Now, look, we always encourage you, bring your spouse. Make it a little romantic getaway as well. You need that time with her, and she needs that time with you. Or if you're a female ministry leader, you need that time with him. Make him step away from work and get away for an Idea Day and spend a few days talking about the ideas of your life and your future. We're excited about that. You coming to one of these, Drew?
I plan to, yes.
Yeah, which one?
Knowing that I grew up in Florida, I'm probably going to go to the Chicago one.
Yeah. Chicago's awesome.
Yeah. Deep dish pizza, no humidity or bugs.
Okay, so we've traveled all over the world. Have we done Chicago together
No,
that you remember?
not
We
yet.
haven't? Yeah. No,
I've been to Chicago, but never with you.
I love Chicago. Yeah. That deep dish.
Deep
It's
dish.
incredible.
There's a place called Graham Elliott's I would love to take you to. Yeah, it's really
I don't
good.
know Graham Elliott's. I do know that they have what is that place where you can get the hot dogs and the meat hoagies, and
So I never did the hot dogs when I was
They
there. I
dip
only
it
did
in
pizza.
like juice or whatever. It's
Yeah.
super weird, but really delicious.
Yeah, it's a good tradition there.
Oh, man. Okay, also, I know that some of you are thinking about the membership program. You've thought about the membership program. You've been part of Idea Network for a while, but you haven't registered for the official membership program of the Idea Network. What are you waiting for? Oh, I know what you're waiting for. We haven't opened up for this year yet. That's right. We only open it up twice a year, and the next time you'll be able to join the official membership of the Idea Network, well, that's going to be in March. Kylie Dulo has officially announced that we can open up for membership. And if you'd like to be a part of that membership program, make that plans now. You can go ahead and contact us and let us know that you're interested. And in March, we'll make that active. What do you get with that membership program other than not only the merch box and access to the exclusive events? You'll also have the opportunity of coming to our weekly virtual roundtables that take place every single Tuesday. And we want you to join and be an official member of the Idea Network.
All right.
That was it. That was my
was
pitch.
it.
I did what
You did
Kylie
great.
told me to do. Thank you very much.
She's so happy with you right now.
She is. I'm sure she is. I got to tell you, I don't have a great segue to say this about seminaries other than I really did enjoy my time at the seminaries that I was able to attend. And we're joined today by a man who leads a seminary, one of the premier seminaries in the United States, I believe, and that is there at the Liberty University, where I got one of my degrees, actually, my Master of Divinity, and where my son is currently a student. Troy, not in your realm, but in the history department, the ROTC program. Troy, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience for those who don't know you? Tell us a little bit about your passion. Tell us a little bit about your history, what brought you to the position you're in, and for those who don't know you, exactly what your position is there at Liberty University.
Oh, I'd be glad to. Thanks for getting me on this and giving the opportunity to just share a little bit about what it means to equip and train folks for full-time ministry. So I answered the call to full-time ministry back in the greatest decade. I call it the 80s. I never owned a pair of parachute pants or members-only jacket, but it still has some of the greatest music of all time.
What about Airwalks? Did you ever wear?
What's that?
Did you ever own a pair of Airwalks?
Airwalks? No, I didn't have those either. I didn't have.
Right.
I was a private Christian school kid, so my family really didn't have money to buy all the cool stuff. But I did have an Atari 2600. And played Asteroids and all the some of the greatest games ever made. And our kids today really have just missed out. But I was called to full-time ministry in the 80s, and had been deeply impacted by my pastor and my youth pastor and the opportunities to step in at a young age and be a part of helping what was the mission of the church and continues to be, which is the Great Commission. And back in 1987, I left Charlotte, North Carolina, where I grew up, and made my way to Liberty University, to a place that really, I mean, it's not a destination. It's kind of a town that you pass through on the way to somewhere else, Lynchburg, Virginia. And while Lynchburg has grown, it's still a pretty small town. And if we could see it grow and bring in some great restaurants, that would help us. I need a good breakfast spot if anybody's got any ideas. But so I came here in 1987, answering a call to ministry. Left here in 1990, served in local church ministry for several years. Came back to Liberty, finished my graduate degree in an MA, a little bit of a blend in apologetics as well as youth and family ministry, and then left and spent several years in West Palm Beach, Florida, at a local church there, First Baptist of West Palm Beach, which is now actually called Family Church, and pastored by a dear friend of mine. And then moved from there to a couple of other opportunities in Louisville, Kentucky. I actually said that wrong. I don't know if you guys know how to pronounce that. It's technically Louisville and not Louisville.
I did not know that. Did you know that?
The locals can get pretty uptight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty proud of how you pronounce their city. And so we spent several years there, and in 3 or 4 different churches, was part of a church plant with the church there. And then I served on faculty as an associate dean at Southern Seminary in the area of church ministries. Back in 2013, God opened the door for us to return to Lynchburg, and which was something that was always something we placed on the altar. And we'd also made it a constant item on our prayer list because we wanted our kids to grow up here. Louisville is a great town. It's a great place. So we didn't run from something. We actually ran to something as God opened the door for us to move back here. And in 2013, we had the opportunity to reconnect with our alma mater, and as well as see our kids connect with just an exciting place. And I tell folks all the time, so that there's all kinds of probably reputations and stories and ideas that people have about Liberty University and our founder, Dr. Jerry Falwell Sr. But I will say this, and I'm sure, Josh, your son now knows what this sounds like and what this means. Liberty's not a perfect place, but Liberty is an incredibly special place. And it's a place where God has used Liberty, like he has other schools and other ministries, to pull them into his story and to be a part of what God is doing. And a lot of people say, what about my story? And at the end of the day, we all know it's about his story and being able to be obedient and connect with his story. And Liberty gives so many opportunities, and we help to facilitate, I think, such an environment that allows students to see God's story and how do I take how he's created me and be a part of that story. And so we came back here in 2013. Back in 2019, our dean, who had been here for 4 years, he's still here. He's Dean Emeritus, Dr. Ed Heinzen. He's legendary. He's got students in his class who had their grandparents in his class. And he stepped aside and resigned, became Dean Emeritus. And that's when I was able to step in, and God opened the door and the leadership here to give me the opportunity to lead the John W. Rawlings School of Divinity, and which involves all our undergrad, our master's level, as well as doctoral studies. And it's just, honestly, if you talk about dream jobs, I prayed about this for a long time and didn't know if God would ever open that door, and he has. It also comes with an incredible responsibility. So that's how I got here. And the story there obviously has a lot of ducks and dives and twists and turns and a lot of mountaintops and valleys, but it's been a wonderful experience just watching God's hand guide us through all of those different, seasons of life. But to be here at this time right now is so special. So I'm not trying to promote my Instagram. I'm just telling you where to go see the video. Last night, we had 5,000 plus students in our stadium for our Wednesday night campus community. The instruments stopped, and it was just voices. And I put that video on my Instagram, which is, I believe my Instagram is Troy W. Temple. And that video is on there. I don't post a lot, so it won't be hard to find it. It is one of the most special moments that I've had in a long time here. And but that's just a little taste of what God is doing in and around us here. And he's at work everywhere. There's no doubt. But so that's how I got here to Liberty. And yeah.
Dr. Ed Heinzen was actually one of my father's professors at Liberty University back in the 70s.
He was.
Yeah. So there's a
He
connecting
was,
point
yeah.
there. And Troy, you actually came out to an idea day here in Las Vegas back in 2020, January. You represented the university and enjoyed our time together there. And several of the folks that you work along with actually were not only here, but have been part of our idea nights. For example, in 2020's idea night, we had Jonathan Falwell, who was able to speak for us, as well as one other very special man who's been part of Liberty from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about that individual.
Yeah. So back in the fall of 2020, with those idea nights, Dr. Elmer Towns was able to be a part of that and share in those events. And he's not just someone who's written a lot of books, because he has written a lot of books. He's a co-founder here of Liberty University, and so he's been here from the very beginning, and has just built. He's the longest running dean of the School of Religion that then gave birth to our seminary in 1973, and so just a special leader, and someone who's just had a deep impact on so many lives. There's no doubt. And Jonathan now, who serves as the pastor of Thomas Road, where Liberty was birthed out of, is now our campus pastor and senior vice president for spiritual development here on campus, and just it's just incredible to see these leaders fill these roles. Dr. Towns continues to do some writing and traveling and speaking, and I don't think he's ever going to stop. So until God, sends a chariot down like one of those Old Testament prophets and picks him up or something. So I'm not sure if God still does that, but.
Well, thanks for being a part of the network and your impact already on it. We love having you guys a part of it, and we look forward to some things in the future that we can participate in. We have a few questions for you today in regards to the future of seminaries. The first one is, so there's a growing trend of churches starting residency programs or training institutes. Do you see this as a step forward or a step backwards?
So, that's a great question, and it depends on your perspective, how you incline towards how you respond. For those who are trying to hold on to something, a lot of times they respond as more cautionary. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times institutions want to hold on to what they have and protect it. It's job security, control the content. But I would say this: instead of whether or not it is a step forward or a step backward, it kind of is both. It's a step backward in the sense that it's a step back to an original obedience that the church should demonstrate, which is just simply training up new generations of leaders. I mean, that was what was modeled by Paul. That's what was modeled even by Jesus. That's what was modeled all throughout the Old Testament. There were proteges, there were younger leaders that were brought along and equipped and trained and deployed, and they were supported and encouraged as they were doing. And the model even of the Great Commission brings those verbs and participles into Matthew 28, 19 and 20, that gives us this understanding of activity, not just that there's an assignment, but that the assignment's being accomplished as we are continuing to move forward in the mission. And then Paul, there's just a litany of development of leaders and sending out leaders. And so I would see it in some ways as a step backward towards original obedience to what God has called the church to do, to pass on these things to young men, to young women who would then be able to carry out the ministry, of course, in specific ways, as Paul outlines those particular offices that we hold. But I also would see it as a step forward. I think because of the need and what I shared of it being a return to original obedience, it's also a step forward because at some point you've got to move out of the disobedience or out of the brokenness or out of the twisted understanding of what it means to train and equip for ministry. And so I think it is a step forward in exciting ways, because the church should be where we train leaders for ministry. And at Liberty, we have hungered for more opportunities to have strategic connections. We call them strategic partnerships, as well as looking at connecting with churches that do training programs and have residency programs. And instead of adding that on to something and saying, that's something you need to do in addition to all of the stuff we're going to have you do here in the institution, in the academy, in a seminary. We want to partner with that, and we want to value that, because if what we believe about the church is accurate, and that is that the church is the bride of Christ, the university, the seminary is not the bride of Christ, then it behooves us, and really is a challenge towards us allowing our belief to be what just inspires our behavior. And with that, the School of Divinity here, we have a mission statement, and it's to come alongside the local church in its quest to fulfill the Great Commission. We are not the church, but we know we have so many leaders in the church. I had 70 leaders with H.B. Charles Jr. yesterday, and just sharing with our young pastoral leadership students of what it means to lead in the church. We talked about preaching, we talked about conflict, we talked about character and navigating your own lives, and so we want to come alongside the church. So we've been very intentional about those partnerships, and so I see it, as I said, as a return to obedience, but also an advancement of what real ministry training should look like. At the end of the day, there should be a partnership between the academy and the local church, and it shouldn't be an add-on. It should be an integrated approach that we value the institutions that uphold faithful biblical teaching and practice, but that those institutions don't just value the church. They press into the church to love the church and to come alongside the church, because the church is where Jesus gave the Great Commission. It was assigned to the body of Christ. And so I would see it in both capacities, and it's exciting both directions. When you see someone repent and return to original obedience, that's a celebration moment. When you see us have opportunities to advance and strengthen what we're doing for really the fields that are white into harvest, that is a moment for celebration as well. So
I absolutely love the answer, and I'm in agreement. I feel like the church for so long, the local church has abdicated its responsibility to to institutions of higher learning for the purpose of mentorship, for the purpose of bringing along the next generation of pastors, deacons, evangelists, missionaries, whatever it might be. I think that's great. And my concern is, as I see an influence in that, and I see I see a direction, my concern is that the pendulum now swings, and it swings so far over from, hey, the churches have not been properly mentoring the next generation for ministry, that the pendulum swings all the way over to there's no need for formal education. So how do you see these type of local church ministries, institutions, maybe informal mentorship, coaching and pastoring, even like you mentioned, residency programs? How do you see these ministries intersecting with formal education?
Well, I think part of that answer comes in the form of understanding the world that we live in and the culture that where our churches reside. I have yet to travel to any nation that doesn't value education. In fact, the great mission movements of the church have almost always included or even focused on educational ministries in different nations, and brought along with that those opportunities as you invest in young lives for educational purposes to share the gospel. I think in our culture, we still value education, but I think in a Western mindset, we're seeing I think somewhat of a questioning of the value of formal education in all disciplines, honestly. And we see that in institutions. I mean, in many institutions, you're seeing the liberal arts, especially English and literature and those things, being minimized severely. There are many universities, not just a Christian university, many universities that are struggling to maintain robust, healthy programs in English and literature and things of that note, and history, because there's a move away from those classics that aren't just there for the sake of knowledge. They do shape and form us, and I'm thrilled that your son is here studying in our history department. There's some just unbelievable faculty in that department. My wife served in that department for a couple of years. And so as I answer this question, I would say we're looking at a cultural shift across the board. The golden opportunity here is that the church has an opportunity to do something that is even more special than other disciplines. I say it this way because if you want to be a teacher in a public school or any kind of school, you've got the state has mandated, different states and departments of education has mandated certain training and licensure, and the same thing for medicine, nursing, and a lot of those practices are regulated by things that are beyond us, which then mandate formal education. But the reality is the golden opportunity here is that we get to press into those who are the practitioners and those that are doing it well, and still leverage the strength of the academy to come alongside and to bolster. The responsibility, though, I think the challenge for institutions of higher learning and Christian schools as well, and even more specifically, is that we've got to begin to think outside the box of what we've grown in and think about different models. They may be different tuition models, different, curriculum models, both all the way down to the level of a particular degree program. And how do we enhance and value certain experiences for academic credit? So I think there's an eye, Josh. I think you're right. There's an eye towards understanding this could be problematic when you push the training further in outside of the formal education realm. But I think in our situation, we see great opportunity for leveraging because how many churches have a faculty that are writing the books that you're reading in your groups when you're doing training there, which you should. But then you have, if we really build something well, we get to leverage the both and I think both of those will serve the mission of the church and develop leaders.
No, I'm in full
probably
agreement.
Better than we've seen in decades.
No, I'm in full agreement. I mean, how am I going to get H.B. Charles down here to talk to the guys I'm mentoring? It's just not possible. But I can but if I can send them if I can do what I can do here and train and mentor and raise up and then identify specific individuals that have a strong calling in their life that need formal education to get them to a place where they can be under the leadership of Ed Heinsohn and have the opportunity of hearing the teaching of Troy Temple and sitting down with H.B. Charles. I mean, this is an opportunity. Well, it's a beautiful gift, really, isn't it, in this culture, in our society that God has given us at this time that not all the world has had the opportunity. Is it possible to do it outside of that? Of course, God has advanced his church in every age and every stage and every way. But boy, we have a wealth of opportunity in the United States of America, perhaps that no others have had, and we should be able to take advantage of that if at all possible. There might be some folks who are listening to this, some pastors themselves. They might be thinking, I've got some young generations coming up, and I'd be interested in learning more about the programs of Liberty University, or I myself might be looking to get an advanced degree. They know their friend Josh, that's me, got one of his advanced degrees through Liberty University. What type of programs are available through Liberty University now for those who are listening in, and maybe via online or maybe via coming down there and being at the actual physical School of Divinity, and then talk with us after that. Transition, if you can, to the concept that we were talking about unique opportunities for undergraduate Bible degrees in financing in unique ways. We talked about that. Maybe we can transition to that later on. But what kind of programs are available through Liberty University right now for ministry leaders?
Absolutely. That's a great question. We have, first, I mean, we've developed programs that have now involved about 12 or 13,000 students, both residentially and online, just in the School of Divinity. And so we're right at that, almost at that 10% mark of our total enrollment here at the university. I think we've topped out at about, well, not topped out. We've grown to about 130,000 total residentially and online. And that affords us great opportunity to think innovatively, as well as gives us resources then to fund creativity in delivering educational programs in a couple of different formats. Really, it's been in two primary formats, and we're exploring a third even as we speak, and with more to follow, it blows my mind, honestly. At 52 years old, there's still so much that's going to be done through technology and other means that will give us greater opportunity to do it even at a higher level. But we have several, in our degree programs, we focus on really three areas here in the School of Divinity from a departmental perspective. And we have forever been focused in on training leaders for the church. That's never been not the case. In fact, that's what our founder's vision was for the whole university, to equip young, what he would call back in the day, young preacher boys, which is a term I grew up with. I know, Josh, you probably grew up with that as well. But it was also to expand in all walks of life, and that no matter what your calling was here at Liberty or your degree, you were focused in on the mission of the gospel. In the School of Divinity, we focus on these three areas. One is Christian leadership and church ministry, which at the undergrad level houses our degrees in pastoral ministry, being a senior pastor, as well as youth ministry. Our women's leadership program is housed there as well. We have a specific, more broad Christian leadership and church ministry degree that then he has some different areas of focus to help develop leaders for the kingdom in children's ministry and other areas, discipleship and leadership and spiritual growth. Then we also have our global studies area. And in that area, we don't call it our world missions. We call it global studies. And that was very strategic, as our students are going all over the world, and the global climate has seen so many changes in different parts of the world, where when they go in as a global studies major, it opens up doors, or better yet, it doesn't close doors as quickly as using other terms. And then we have our foundations, biblical and theological foundations, which also includes apologetics, which has always been something that has been one of our fortes over the decades, especially with several faculty members that are distinguished faculty members that have been here, like Gary Habermas and others. And so that's at the undergrad level, our bachelor's degree programs. I would love to, at this point in the semester, we're coming, as we're looking towards the holidays approaching, we're coming to the end of some things. And so we've almost got a few things that I hope to share, maybe at a later time with everyone in the Idea Network, that I think is incredibly innovative, that will help to streamline the bachelor's and master's programs, so that students will have the opportunity.
Troy, let me let you off the hook on that one. Those are some things we discussed, and those are not quite ready for prime time, as they say. But I loved talking with you about those ideas, and at the Idea Network, we're all about innovation and forward thinking. And that should be maybe an upcoming podcast, maybe an upcoming episode. Maybe we'll do a virtual roundtable with our members-only exclusive Tuesday roundtable.
That would be great.
Because what you've got planned, what you've got up your sleeve, the concepts of how we can properly provide undergraduate degrees for Bible majors in a unique way, I think is a very interesting idea, and I think it should be discussed. But really, I would say
too. No, go ahead.
No, you go.
I would say too. I would say that we also, I would add to that we're working on some stuff at the master's level, but currently at the master's level, we have several MA programs. We have an MA in Christian ministry, which is 36 hours, an MA in theological studies, which is 36 hours, which that in and of itself is very innovative. A lot of schools have those types of programs. But what we've also done is, if you complete that degree program, all 36 hours then apply if you want to go on to get your Master of Divinity, which is the longer degree. I think it's the one, Josh, that you completed here, which is a fantastic degree. It is probably the workhorse of seminary degrees. It's one of the most comprehensive. And actually, for most situations, if you're a pastor, if you're serving in a local church, that MDiv is a fantastic degree for many reasons. And since I'm sitting here in an institution, the Masters of Divinity actually is accredited in a way and valued in a way that it credentials you to teach a lot of different courses. If you're a pastor and you have a Bible college near you or a Christian college, you could teach an undergrad ministry course or even an Old Testament or New Testament course with an MDiv degree in most situations. Now, a lot of schools want people with PhDs, but if I could find a pastor who's passionate about the New Testament and teaching the New Testament with an eye towards the church, I would love to have that person in the classroom. So that's what we have recruited and placed here at Liberty. Those who are teaching those foundations love the church. And so it's taught with a view towards the church. But that master's degree, Master's of Divinity, is what I would call really the staple workhorse degree at any seminary. Then as you move forward, and I would encourage anyone to think about this, recently we've been able to craft, because accreditation has opened the door for this, that if you finish one of those 36-hour master's degrees, you can now move forward and consider our Doctor of Ministry degree, which is a 30-hour professional doctoral degree. Many pastors have a DMin. That's what that is. and it's a professional degree. And then some may consider, and that's 100% available online. We have one option for those in residence. Currently, as we speak, as we come to the end of this fall semester, we are looking at the largest DMin program in the country at this point. And we have about 10 or 12 different focus areas. We call them cognates. Everything from homiletics, evangelism, church planning, urban ministry, church ministry in the digital age, as well as theology and apologetics and biblical studies areas as well in that DMin. But then we have our other side, which a lot of ministry leaders and Christian leaders go to, and that is our Doctor of Education in Christian Leadership. And everybody, when they hear Doctor of Education, they go, wait a minute, well, I don't want to be in education. Well, you didn't want to be a scientist either, but many of us got a Bachelor of Science in something. So it's a category of degree. So it's not necessarily, you're getting an education degree, but it is an education doctorate in Christian leadership. And it's a phenomenal degree. It's grown now to about 400 or 500 and in the last 3 years. And then we have both online and residential, several PhD options that we still do. Our PhD options are residentially offered in 1 week intensives 3 times a year. And then we also have a couple of options at the PhD level, one in biblical exposition and then one in applied apologetics. And so there's really a niche for almost anyone who said, I am ready to start enhancing what I do as a leader and increase my body of knowledge so I can be better at the ministry that I lead. And then it's amazing what doors God opens both locally in your ministry, in your church, as well as even future opportunities, in connecting with the training models that are out there. And if I'm at a church and I've got, the opportunity for my pastor or one of our associate staff members to be credentialed and then to lead a training institute through our church, what a golden opportunity to do something that is beyond what we've been doing and to connect with another institution like Liberty, and which is what we're seeking out, those kinds of churches that do that. Because then that helps with the whole quality level of what we're doing.
Yeah, I love it. I have a pal named Kurt who runs Veritas Baptist College, and he just called me this last year, and he said to me, he's like, Josh, it's time for you to go for your doctorate. And I'm like, what kind of a friend puts that kind of a burden on your back? And he's like, I know you got your master's at Pensacola, and I know you got your MDiv at Liberty, and now it's time. You should do it. And so he is doing it, and a mutual friend of ours named Carrie is doing that. And he's like, you got to start. And he wanted me to start this year, and I'm thinking about starting next year. I'm putting it off, which is a good opportunity for me to talk with one of my members of my trustee committee, one of my deacons here. That's on my forefront. I'm looking at the DMin program.
Thanks for letting me into that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Right here live on the podcast. Yeah. I got to start talking about that.
I think he nodded up and down. So
yeah, I think that's approval. And that's one of the things that I want to say to the pastors listening to this. You're like, man, I don't know that I could afford such a program. I'm not sure that first of all, the time you invest in that, this is what I've learned. I've received 2 master's degrees while pastoring. I don't say that because I'm great. At all. It's because I had leadership in my church encourage me in this direction. I had mentors encourage me in this direction. And I got to tell you this, the time that is invested, I did 1 day a week. That's what I focused on. The time was so refreshing. I wasn't thinking about grandma Sally's back situation. I wasn't thinking about Joe's toe who was hurting. I wasn't thinking about the sermon I had to preach or prepare. I didn't think about small groups. I just thought about the study of the word. It was so very refreshing. It was good for me. Number 2, I really encourage pastors to sit down with your deacons, sit down with your elder board, sit down with the leadership of the church and say, look, we need to line item budget this. We need to make sure that there's room in the budget to further my education. Here's why. Because this will so refresh your preaching and your personal walk with God in a way that the church will benefit so greatly. So look, if you're like, man, I'm a little nervous about having that conversation, call me. We're friends. Call Josh. Say, I'm going to call Josh. I'm going to walk through how to have this conversation. But if you call me and get conversation on counsel on how to have that conversation with your leadership, I will hold you to it. And I will make sure you actually have that conversation because I think it's that important. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, to jump on top of that, Josh, I would say call me. I would also be willing to discuss the option. If we're here to come alongside the local church in this quest to fulfill the Great Commission as a school, we're here in the training and the content, the mentorship and the partnership, but we're also here financially. And I would love to say that we've just created all this opportunity to pay for everyone's tuition and schooling. But honestly, what has happened is God has poured out resources from those who said, I want to build a heritage of faithfully trained leaders for the church. And so God, over the last year, I've seen more investment in our student scholarship fund in the last 12 months than I've seen in the last 9 years that I've been here. And so we're continuing to see those things roll in at just an encouraging number. And so what it's done is, and almost all of them, anybody who gives money, a lot of times they want to say, use it for this. And anytime someone says, what can we do to help the School of Divinity and Liberty? And I said, help our students. If you want to help the School of Divinity, help our students. And so I'm not looking to build buildings. They've already been built. I'm not looking to fund faculty positions. That's what our budget takes care of. And so what I want to do is help students that are going into ministry enter ministry with as little to no debt as possible. And so to that end, whether you're online or whether you're going to come to campus or whether you're going to send students to campus, there are opportunities for us to consider both scholarships as well as a brand new program that I'm so excited about. It's just for new students. And that is a program, and the applications are actually open right now. They opened back on, I believe it was December 1, and they're open until March 1st, that lead into the following academic year, fall 2022. And it's our ministry loan repayment program. We've been dreaming about this for a long time, and finally had a benefactor who said, I see what value that is massive. And so I'm going to seed this. And he got this fund started. He continues to give to it in great measure. But what this program does is students have the opportunity to apply to our ministry loan repayment program before they enter their freshman year at the undergrad level. They have to come here residentially. But what happens is this program, if they're accepted into it, and if they receive any type of federal funding through loans, once they graduate, if they are serving full time in local church ministry for the 5 consecutive years after graduation, which is the intent of almost all of them, then we will take care of paying those federal loans up to $6,000 a year for a total of 5 years. So the max would be a $30,000 investment to where a student takes out. Now, those loans are deferred until they get out of school, so they're not making payments. And then once they get out of school, the university then begins making the federal loan payment for them. So the students don't get the money; we pay the payment for them. So I'll say this: some may say, "Well, $30,000 enough?" I'm a pastor, so my first answer is no. It's never enough. So I mean, we've always got great need, but the average student leaves our school with about $32,000 of debt, and we are right there at the national average, just right there at it. And there are a lot of schools that would require a lot more. But if the average is $32,000 and this loan repayment program is able to provide up to $30,000, what an incredible investment and help towards sending out laborers to the field with as little to no debt as possible. And so we're excited that God continues to open these doors. And if you're a pastor, as a full-time pastor, and you say, I'm not leaving my church, but I'm sitting here and I just heard Josh talk about what he's going to do, and I'm going to beat him to the punch, and I'm going to get in my doctoral program. We have some programs that really could help supplement and sometimes cover the full tuition, depending on what part of the country you live in. If you live in Virginia or one of our surrounding states, there's a 7-state program that is for 7 states, specifically for those in Baptist ministry, that could completely cover either a master's degree or a DMin degree. And then we have some other options too, even if you're not in one of those 7 states, and you're going to stay and do it completely online. So we would love to be able to share that with all the Idea Network pastors and folks, and continue to just come alongside the local church.
Awesome.
And they can help everyone be faithful.
And they can reach out right to you.
They can. They sure can.
Awesome.
The best way to do that is you can go to liberty.edu /divinity, and then email and say, hey, I heard Dr. Temple share some things on this podcast, and you can send an email to divinity@liberty.edu and make it happen. So we'd be happy to circle back around and find ways to plug in and get the resources to the right place.
Make it happen, Captain. Hey, that's what we do here at the Idea Network. We bring the best ideas right to your listening ears as you're jogging on that trail. Hey, before we go, tell us about your current leadership and the future plans of Liberty University.
Ooh, now this is exciting. Okay, so leadership-wise, our current president of the university is a pastor. Dr. Jerry Prevost pastored Anchorage Baptist Temple for, I think it was just over 40 years. And he has been a member of our board here at Liberty University since the mid-90s. Jonathan Falwell, as I mentioned earlier.
I hate to interrupt, but interesting fact, Drew. Did you know that the church that you're involved with, of the 13, I think it was 13 different supporters of Southern Hills when we started, Jerry Prevost from Alaska, and their church was one of the 13 original supporters of this church. How about that? Yeah, that's crazy. But you were going. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
No, it's great. I mean, Jonathan Falwell, the pastor of Thomas Road Baptist Church, is our senior vice president of spiritual development, and then our provost leadership, all the way through the whole leadership team at the highest levels is a passion for training students through the School of Divinity, whether it's here residentially or online, and equipping more laborers for the field, especially with the local church. And so we're seeing a whole shift. If you get on liberty.edu, I think /convocation maybe. I'm not sure if that's a link or not, but you can search LU Convo. We've had this semester, we've been able to share time with Dr. Tony Evans. We've been able to share time with I think I mentioned before, H.B. Charles Jr., David Jeremiah, Dave Stone, I think Matt Barnett from Dream Center LA. We've had J.D. Greer, we've had Kay Arthur. So we've had some that are long haulers, and then we've had some others that have been leading in local church for a long time. It is unbelievable the way things have shifted. Crawford and Karen Loritz, who just resigned last spring from their church, fellowship church there outside of Atlanta. Just God has begun to open up a whole new season for us to be able to hear from faithful servants and leaders of the church like no other. And leadership wise, we're just seeing a rejuvenation of connecting back with the original vision to train champions for Christ, which is what Dr. Falwell started. So that's just where we are. And
it's really exciting.
We're just beginning.
It's exciting to be on campus. It's exciting to feel the palpable nature of that statement, truly creating champions for Christ. And even from a distance, it's really fun to see what you all are doing there at Liberty University. We're supportive, we're excited about it, and we're glad to have you guys part of the network in so many ways. For those who would really like to get in contact with you, Troy, and follow you specifically, you shamelessly promoted your Instagram, but we were going to have you do that anyway. Tell us a little bit about how our audience, how they can stay connected with you and follow you either through social or other ways.
Yeah, social media is real simple. Primarily it's through Instagram. Troy W. Temple is my Instagram username. And I do a few things on Twitter, not as much on Twitter as I used to. Primarily on Instagram, but Twitter is actually, you get rid of the W, and so it's just Troy Temple on Twitter. And so either way is great. Obviously, Facebook is the same as Instagram, but and then we also have our Divinity Instagram, which is Liberty U DIV is a great place to track with as well. So
awesome. If you go on to the ROTC program at Liberty, you'll see my son on there occasionally. I actually see him probably once a week, which I know nobody else cares,
really?
But it's a lot of fun. They did a video of him, of not just him, but the whole group running up a mountain. And I'm a parent of a freshman, right? So like every single thing that's being done, we're like, hey, did you see Convocation? Hey, did you go on Wednesday night to the well, I forget the big church service they have? I'm asking about everything. He's like,
campus community,
campus community. And he's like, they're doing what? And we're like, you gotta go. What are you doing? So no, we're highly involved from a distance. We're really pathetic parents. It's really sad.
No, it's what you're supposed to be. So
yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on the episode. We appreciate your passion, not only for education, but also specifically equipping laborers for Christ. It's awesome to have the conversation with you.
Great pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to today's Idea Talks. If you would like to reach out to us, drop us an email at joshtice@ideanetwork.church. If you benefited from this podcast, we ask that you take a moment to show your support by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on iTunes. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you right here again at the Idea Talks podcast.